Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We have a special member with us, our first guest on Pressing Issues, and we want to welcome PP, also called Pranav Prasad by no one. Um, you guys can see in the background, he's obviously a Real Madrid fan, uh, big diehard fan, and he can't contain his current form, I think. And I think we have a few questions we wanted to talk to him about Barcelona, who he hates.
Yeah, and
And
before we get started, I just want to address the glow on Shashank's face after that amazing draw against
it's called
Liverpool.
California Sunshine.
California sunshine indeed.
I
So
want
yeah,
to,
welcome.
thanks for calling me to this intense discussion on football. Let's see. Let's see how it
The
goes.
sarcasm here is very strong.
Yes. No, but
Anyway.
I think you should feel honored. I mean,
I am honored,
like down the
actually.
line, down the
First
line when
test
you
and
look
all
back
is
at
like it's going to be a record for you guys also. First test,
Yes.
memorable.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Even we are not used to having another person, so I don't know how this whole flow of conversation is gonna happen. So
Yeah.
let's see.
It'll be
Let's
fine.
see.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
I think Prateek prepared a few questions that he wanted to ask. So yeah, jokes apart, I think PP has been following Barca for over 10 years now. He can speak more about it. And I'm sure he's not proud of their current form. And that's what this podcast is all about, just getting to know what he thinks about what's happened to Barca in the past couple of years or so. Where did the downfall start?
And
How can the uprise begin, or whatever? And
the rebuild.
yes, what does he think of the younger talent and things like that at Barca? So yeah, Prateek,
Yeah.
your first question that you wanted to ask him.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, the biggest turning point being like them not making it through in the Champions League. I think that's highlighted a lot of like things that's happening around Barcelona. So we felt this is probably a good time to get PP on and talk about like what a fan thinks about what's happening in the club. So yeah, let's just get started. I think the first question I have for Pranav is that, like, according to you, like, what do you think are like the three biggest things that Barca are doing wrong right now? Like three biggest things that are going wrong at the club.
So
Yeah.
guys,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah.
just a disclaimer. These are questions which we haven't disclosed to him, so he might take his time to think about them. And when Prateek asks questions like three numbers and stuff, so it might take him some time. But yeah, take your time, give it some thought,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tell what it can.
Yeah. The obvious problem with Barca is that they don't score enough goals. If you know basically with the Champions League group stage, they scored 2 goals in
Yeah.
6 games, and that is terrible. So yeah, the main problem, I think they're actually on an upward trend. Even though if you look at the league table and if you look at the champions that they didn't go through in the Champions League, they're actually on an upward trend, I think. So it's basically that they're not able to score enough goals. Their defense has always been bad. It continues to be bad. That's not really changing. But there are few bright spots to look at, definitely. There are for example, the midfield, especially the young midfield which has come through is exceptional, actually. If you watch the last game also, for example, how Pablo Gavi
So
plays
Gavi's
he's
goal
insane.
is really good.
I didn't expect I didn't expect any player to play like that at 17. So yeah, there are players like Nico Gonzalez, Pablo Gavi, and
Pedri.
the guys who are already there, Frankie De Jong, Ansu Fati, and all these guys. There is a lot of nice things to look forward to, but at the moment they're in a very difficult situation. So first thing they need to fix is basically that goal scoring. And at the moment, only Memphis seems to score, and that is actually a surprising to everyone, including Barca fans, that he scores so much. But he has scored quite a bit, actually. In La Liga, he scored 8 goals, and Benzema is on 13. So that's pretty close, and it's not bad at all. He's like third highest scorer in the league, even with Barca at such a bad position. So yeah, Memphis is scoring, but he's not been able to score in the Champions League. So because of that, that was one of the reasons they couldn't get through as well. But with Xavi coming in, they have changed something where you can see that they're creating more chances. Although it may not be as clear cut as they want it to be, but there has been a shift from Ronald Koeman to Xavi in a positive way in that sense, in the attacking third at least.
Fair,
Interesting.
fair.
I have just one like follow-up question. Why did you even buy Luke De Jong?
Luke De Jong, yeah, it's again
I
Ronald
have no
Koeman. I don't
idea.
know what he has with Netherlands Dutch players that he just got all of them. He
That's
just
what.
wants them, and yeah, that was a very stupid thing. They've not even played him much. I think only one game he has started till now. I think. But yeah, the one clear thing that has come out of all this is that in the last few years, what they were doing wrong was that they were buying players. They were not getting La Masia players into the team. And clearly, when they get the La Masia players into the team and give them enough minutes, they are really good players. And they have Pedri. I forgot to mention Pedri. Pedri and Pablo Gavi, both of them are like in the Spain national team, and I think both will be there for a very long time. So those two guys, yeah, I mean, they are probably the most exciting prospects for Barca.
Yeah, interesting.
I have a few reservations about this whole thing that PB talked about. Maybe I'll bring it up a bit later in the video.
Yeah.
Where I think for now we can move on with the questions.
Yeah, I think another question that we wanted to ask you was, who do you think is to blame for what Barca is going through now, or rather in the past couple of years or so? What do you think led to the downfall? Is it Bartomeu?
It's definitely like a prolonged result of many problems. And that was probably it started off with the previous reign of the previous president, that is Bartomeu and stuff. So the first issue came with buying these many players for very high sums and not actually turning them into world-class players. Only Neymar was actually they didn't even buy him for that much, and he turned into a world-class player. They sold him, and after that, maybe they should have capitalized a little bit on the money they gained for him, and maybe improve the La Masia or something. But at that point of time, obviously, even I was, as a fan, I wanted someone to come in. So I can understand what they were going through. Like then Dembele came in, there was obviously more like expectation from him and all that. He's good. I mean, even now, if you see, he has flashes of brilliance, but he's never been consistent. That's the main problem with him. Like Mbappe and Dembele both were at the same level at some point. But Mbappe, the way he has been consistent, you can clearly see what the difference in mentality is between. But yeah, it's a lot of these continuous problems that have it ended up with Messi leaving finally. Messi leaving was like the tipping point, and you can clearly see last season they ended third. They were in the Champions League till the quarters. Then this season they are not in the Champions League knockout. They're not even close to being in the top four. It's totally changed, and the Messi dependency also is one big factor. Obviously, they didn't try to factor in they didn't get in a lot of the other players into the fold when they had to. They just kept giving like Messi was the guy who was just taking them forward, and they didn't really do much about it.
Yeah. I mean, Messi for a while has been papering over the cracks of like a lot of issues, like in your team, like overall, like in the squad balance. Because I mean, Dembele was brilliant at Dortmund before you guys bought him. So it's not like they were stupid signings. They were like it's.
But honestly, I read this thing the other day that Dembele was there in Dortmund only for one season. Am I right?
Yeah.
I think yeah. So I mean, you can't say a lot about it as such. Of course, he had a great season there. He was
it's a lot
promising,
of money, but
he was a promising talent, 18, 19 years
old,
I think, when he was bought. But just one season, and people didn't know of his injury record back then. Of course, it was a small gamble when you're paying so much for an 18, 19-year-old.
That's there. But okay, apart from Dembele, when they bought Coutinho, was like one of the best players in the Premier League, like when they bought him from Liverpool. So that was a good signing. It wasn't a bad signing. It's just that as soon as he came in, the manager didn't exactly want him he didn't fit into the system. So they had trouble, like if you spend like more than 100 million on a player, you should kind of try to build the team around him, than kind of have him on the sidelines and use him whenever, because it's like it's a lot of money. It's not a small amount. And then the whole Griezmann saga, I feel, is I wasn't
Yeah.
fully sure about. Yeah, like he was on ridiculous wages for like a single player, and they bought him for quite a bit of money. So yeah, I've yeah, from an outside viewpoint of someone who doesn't usually watch Barcelona games, maybe watches like 3 or 4 a year, or like in the Champions League or some El Clasico or something. From what I follow on Twitter or on some social media platform, I think I've always felt that their signings over the last say 3 4 years were very, I don't know, puzzling, because like usually you'd rather want your signings to have a particular direction. Either you stick to youth, or you sign cheap experienced players. So it's like have some like strategy behind your recruitment. Yeah, I've always felt that Barca, I wasn't sure what they were trying to do.
Right.
And
No, what I think, like, okay, with Coutinho, I thought that it was a very good signing for Barca, actually. Like, I mean, I thought he'll fit in. He'll actually come in and he'll probably, Iniesta was leaving. It just makes sense that Coutinho comes in, he takes in that left midfield role and continues there. But in the first, literally, he came in January. He was there for like half a season that year and he was good. He was actually very good, but he wasn't allowed to play in the Champions League that year. And even then, he
yeah,
scored like 10 goals in the league and some 4 assists in just a half a season. Okay, so we thought he's going to do well, and he did well in the World Cup also. I think he was their best player in for Brazil
This
in
was
that
under
World Cup
Valverde.
2018. Huh?
Was this under Valverde?
This was
Or
20. Yeah,
Kike's
this
set?
was under Valverde. Yeah,
Valverde.
this was under Valverde.
Hmm.
2018, basically 2018 World Cup, he was really good. Like he scored these incredible goals in that World Cup, and then he was good at that time. But after that, again, from the next season, Messi and Suarez were the next season. Messi and Suarez were really good. Like they were, they went to they lost to Liverpool basically in the Champions League in that season. But in overall that season, they played really well. But Coutinho wasn't, because these two are contributing so much. Coutinho wasn't, when you compare the contributions, and he's on the left wing role. Basically, he's not scoring, he's not assisting enough. So you can clearly tell the difference between what these three are contributing. Messi was contributing quite a lot. Suarez was a little less, but way higher than Coutinho. And then that extra pressure started mounting on him, sort of. And then he never came back. He got injured one season after that. He just didn't come back to his normal old self. It didn't. It just hasn't happened. And even now, it's a real mystery actually what has happened. I mean, how do you explain that? It's just something. It's like a case study needs to be there on his mental
I
and
mean,
like psychological change.
yeah, maybe people won't like what I'm about to say. I think I see a lot of parallels between like United and Barcelona, like with how we had this end of an era with like a lot of our like old generation players. I think that's what Barca have come to right now. Like a lot of their prominent players are at that age where they're like tailing off or left the club or retiring. So it's like you have these like so many holes to fill, and like it's not just you need to fill, not only need talent to replace them, but you need like leaders as well. A lot of the players are like Suarez, I'm pretty sure was like a leader in the dressing room, someone who had a lot of say in the dressing room. So like you need to replace his goals, and then you need to replace his leadership. Like maybe
Yeah,
replacing the goals is much easier. So it's going to take a lot of effort to build that club back again. I think it's yeah,
yeah, I
it's going
know.
to
Even
be
He's
no, I
speaking
agree
from his
actually.
personal experience.
yeah.
Get ready for a crazy decade, TP.
Oh yeah, I agree actually. Like I think they'll at least take a few years to like come to the top again. It's not going to be, but maybe they can come back to like the top four types in La Liga for sure. I feel they'll come back within maybe 2 years.
Yeah,
This
maybe
season,
the La Liga is going to help here this way, because it's not exactly that competitive. Like you
yeah,
can kind of, yeah,
it's true. But at the moment, I think it's become very difficult for them to get through only. Like
yeah,
they're even at eighth even now. It's not become, yeah, it feels like Real Sociedad and Real Betis and all are somehow becoming stronger. I mean, they're compared to Barca. Maybe Barca is becoming weaker. So yeah. But in that sense, yeah, I think it'll take a few years to get back to the top for sure. I mean, they it won't happen instantly. But that's the thing for Barca fans. There is something to look forward to, that it can change. There is some change. It feels like changes will happen, and that was something which didn't seem like in the last few years.
How
It's
was
all like
the
new season start, Messi has to score.
Yeah, I was just asking how was like the manager retention rate in La Liga compared to how it is in the Prem? I mean, I feel like Prem managers come under pressure very, very quickly and they tend to lose their jobs if they have a spree of bad results. But I don't know how it is in La Liga.
Yeah, for Barca specifically, it's obviously going to be
Not Barca. I didn't mean the
in,
top 2, 3, the other
in La Liga
clubs.
itself, right?
Yeah, probably say Sociedad, Betis, Sevilla, Villarreal.
They do keep changing quite often. I mean, it doesn't seem to they don't seem to hold on for a very long. But I think like it's not maybe like yeah, Premier League. Once they come into under pressure, they just like sack them. Maybe it's not that bad here, but it does. It's not like they're going to stay for 10 years and all the time. That's not going to happen. If it's I think like 2-3 years. If they're doing okay, it will be 3 years. Otherwise, I think it's even lesser only. It's like
Right.
yeah.
And yeah, and while we're on this manager topic, it's like, what do you think of this like inclination to appoint managers with the Barca DNA? I'm like kind of on the fence with this whole club DNA thing. It's
Hmm.
like I mean it's maybe it's not something I fully understand or I fully support, like especially like right now. I'd think that you'd rather have a manager who knows what he's doing so that he can, like, stabilize the ship. I mean, Xavi can turn out to be a brilliant appointment. Like, you've had brilliant appointments in the past who, like, like, and Guardiola wasn't exactly experienced when he took over
Yeah.
Barcelona, but that team was brilliant. So,
Yeah.
you maybe don't have that yet. So, what do you feel about this whole what do you call the system where you appoint someone who's like the Barca way? Or
Oh yeah. In a way I like this, but in a way I understand what you're saying. So basically, Xavi is not like a proper manager because he's not had enough experience, but he has like this pattern of play in mind, which is what Barca has been missing. It has been missing that for a long time. Like they don't have this. They had some tiki taka till maybe 2014, 2015, even the treble winning season. They were like really smooth, but after that, they've just lost any kind of pattern of play, and then something needs to be reinstated in their in the way they play, and for that I think the Barca DNA helps. But in general, as a manager, as you said, it's a risk. It's a big risk that they're taking because it's. I mean, obviously, he doesn't have the general knowledge of the managers who have been there, done that sort of, and it's going to be much harder for him to maybe. But the one good thing for him is that the number of egos in the dressing room have reduced a lot. So he has to just take care of these kids and a couple of senior players who will be for sure trying to help only more than anything. So for him and Dani Alves, actually, that return, it makes sense to an extent that there's no, as you said, there's no leader in the dressing room. Dani Alves is a winner and he is a leader. So that just to get him in the dressing room just has a, I think, a positive effect on the entire team.
Yeah.
And Xavi himself has been a player very recently. So in that sense, he himself can be a leader on the field also. Like he takes part in training sessions, all these kinds of things he just does. And people will, the kids will be motivated by him, right? Yeah, all those things like having the Barca DNA helps in such things. But maybe, for example, if they wanted a pattern of play, like I would say, the ideal replacement would have been Eric Ten Hag. Okay? That's what I would have wanted. I
nah,
wanted
chill,
him to
chill, chill,
come
chill.
and
He's
ensure the
coming to
place.
Old Trafford. Chill.
You're going
Yeah,
for
I
the
know.
big contention argument based answer. Yeah, one thing that I just wanted to comment here was that I understand, like I hear a lot of say Barca fans talking about wanting tiki taka in the way they play, um, possession retention style of play, and I hear United going for these killer games. You need to be super attacking football you have to play and stuff like that. But I mean, as a Spurs fan, like I started following the club only like 4-5 years back. So I've been hearing fans say that, Spurs has been traditionally considered an attacking minded based club. But for me, I really don't
No,
know
wait, I think you
if
read that wrong. I think it should be like mid-table club.
right. If all you want to go for that, we can make another episode. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if, do you really think placing emphasis on the style of play is very important, or do you think you just need a manager who has clarity in the kind of game he wants to play and make him play that? That's my doubt. I mean, you can see a lot of difference in the way, say, Conte plays, or in the way, say, Erik ten Hag plays. So does it really matter how they play when you want the manager to come into Barca, or would you be okay with bringing someone like, say, an Antonio Conte, or someone like Diego Simeone, or someone who has a philosophy but is not necessarily the Barca philosophy?
As a Barca fan, no, I want the style of play, because for example, when Valverde came in, he had a season. So his first season, they were unbeaten throughout the season. They lost the second last game. That's all in the whole season. But the way he plays, I just couldn't get behind that. Like, you can't. He just changed everything. He was a very defensive player. They were defensive minded. Their defense was good. All that was fine. But they just cannot beat the top teams at that level. Like, they can beat them if they grind out the results, but they are never going to dominate a top team in that if they play like that.
Yeah, I think I kind of understand the reason behind why we have these difference of opinions, because when I started watching Spurs, for example, I have never had this one set philosophy which I fell in love with. I just fell in love with, say, them winning some big off games or whatever the reason is. But for you guys, both of you, you started watching it way earlier, and you kind of fell in love with the philosophy of the club itself, the way they were playing at that point in time. So I think that holds a big place.
That I think maybe that more than that, United and Barca, I think in a way are exceptions. Like, I think I've mentioned this before. Like, there are a lot of other super clubs which don't have the system and are successful. Like your Chelsea. Chelsea doesn't have a set, a traditional style of football. Like, they sack managers, win games. Bayern Munich, like, they like literally, it doesn't matter who the manager is, they win the Bundesliga or do well in the Champions League. Even to an extent, Real Madrid don't exactly have
I don't think I agree with Bayern Munich though. Yeah, sure, Real Madrid I'll probably agree, but Bayern has always been a powerhouse attacking football.
Yeah, they've been a powerhouse, but they've never been like, last 2 seasons they've been like a pressing, not last 2 seasons, but before Nagelsmann they were like a pressing kind of team. Now they don't press as high as they used to before. So it's like their style of play has been changing. They're still successful, but their style of play has been changing. So that cannot be said. Like United, again, it was under the same manager, so obviously it's going to be the same style. Maybe Barca is a better example where they've like cycled through a few managers, but they've like kind of stuck to this one particular style of football. So yeah, I mean, it's not, you can't say this is wrong, this is right. I think you just need to find a way to be successful. That's it. It's like, I mean, every club will have some constraint. Like if you go with Dortmund, they are a selling club. Like in the end, they know that they're going to have talent for a couple of years. Like Haaland's going to come, play for a couple of seasons and leave. And then they're going to find a way to find the next Haaland or, find the next Sancho and make the team better. And same with Ajax.
I don't know
the
how
recruitment
they do
system
that.
is insane.
It's insane. I have never seen anything as good as Dortmund, and maybe Ajax comes close. But yeah.
But yeah, Dortmund's ambitions only are like that. They don't really want to win everything.
Exactly.
They just want to create these youngsters and sell them for higher, and they're a very good business, I guess. But in that sense, their ambitions are lower than Bayern, for example, for sure. Bayern just wants to buy from Dortmund, and for Dortmund wants to sell to Bayern. It's basically like
because Dortmund like know that they don't have like the financial backing to compete with like the likes of these super clubs over like a long period of time.
Yeah.
So they just stick to a different philosophy to make the club
smart way of doing business. And
but they've created a whole your reputation such that these youngsters want to come there. Like Jude Bellingham
exactly.
Like he he chose Dortmund, even though he had other options. He just wanted to go to Dortmund because they create those youngsters, and they have something there. Yeah, definitely.
I honestly read that Dortmund usually gives decently high salaries to youngsters, just expecting them, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of youngsters go, which a lot of clubs feel is a big risk, right? Like just giving away. But they somehow identify the right potential and they're ready to offer bigger salaries. But that's just something that I read. Not sure.
I mean, like these player salaries, I don't think is a motivation in the sense that if you're a young footballer,
but that's exactly what I'm trying to tell, right? Like if you're a young footballer and you know that you're still in the
No,
very
no, no,
early
no. If
stages of
you're
your career,
exactly,
and
yeah.
you can go to Dortmund, who's paying you say 100K, and you can go to say I don't know, Spurs, who's paying you 50K. They'd probably go to Dortmund, right? Like, because they're still
No,
very early in
I
the
feel
stage.
no, no. I no. That's something I don't think I agree with, because like if if you're a youth footballer coming through the system, more than successful examples, you like around you will be thousands of players who don't make it, or
Hmm.
who drop off midway. I think at some point, to make it to the top, money is not a factor of
Yeah,
motivation. Like
yeah,
if you're given a choice to go to, you'll probably pick an academy which has a history of giving you chances. Like United has a good academy because a lot of our youth get chances, so people try to join the academy. Dortmund has a good youth academy because they know that, okay, if I go do well there, I will get a chance. Like Chelsea is a bad example, because you'll just get loaned out to some club, and it's
right.
like when you're loaned out, it's very hard to make it back into the Chelsea first team. So
Yeah.
it's like, I think money is, sure, money is important. At any major club will give you enough
I
money
think
to
the
cover your
difference
expenses.
between what you were talking about and I was talking about is, I was talking about players like say Haaland and Dembele, who didn't go through their youth system, but they just went there in the very early stages of their career. But you are
I mean,
talking
dude,
about
if
say Bellingham or players like that who would have
yeah,
gone
I
through their
those
youth
I think
stage.
yeah, I mean, Haaland is a exception in Dortmund's like Dortmund's like the whatever the shining stars of the whole Dortmund academy isn't Haaland. It's like, these Dembele is a shining example. Like Mkhitaryan, Gundogan are shining examples. Like, players who are like absolutely nothing. Like they started off like even Aubameyang, like during the final stages of Lewandowski's career at Dortmund, he like came to the rise and then took over Lewandowski's boots. So I think these guys chose Dortmund not because the money, because they had like this history of promoting like youth players.
Yeah.
Because
I,
so yeah, I'm a huge fan of how Dortmund run things, but
yeah. I think
Not how
Haaland
they retain
also
things.
Haaland had another option also apart from Dortmund. Like he had like
Yeah.
one of these big teams who
I
wanted
think
him.
Chelsea.
I think
United,
so.
we
I
wanted to
don't
pay
exactly
him.
remember who, but there was some
United
big
wanted to
team.
pay a lot of money. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just chose Dortmund because he knew that he's going to get more game time there, and he's going to probably be the leading striker for them for
Right.
at least a couple of years for sure. So, and look at the way he has made his reputation, has his value, transfer
Yeah.
market value,
I
everything
have
has
no
just
idea who can afford
skyrocketed.
him next year. I'm very curious to see where
No,
he'll
there's a
go.
release clause, so it's easy to afford.
60 million,
75
Yeah,
million.
yeah.
75 million.
Yeah.
It's easy to afford. Like you'll have to pay Villarreal some 30-40 million, I think, to
Yeah,
convince
it'll
But
be
him
I
like
to
heard there
overall
is that,
120.
didn't they just
yeah,
release
yeah.
that saying, agent fee has to be a 10% cap?
Oh,
Oh, they
Yeah.
did?
Yeah.
Oh
They just
yeah, yeah. I
released it.
was reading something. Yeah, yeah.
man.
So, yeah, I
I'll
mean,
be
we
crying,
have to
dude.
see.
Poor guy.
Yeah. He'll try to sell him for as much as he can now, because, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
he's making
And
a cut
they
share out
have
of
a
it.
lot
So,
of takers though.
yeah. That's yeah. Yeah, let's get
okay.
back to this whole
Hmm.
Barca topic. I think we kind
Yeah.
of veered off to
Yeah, I think
yeah.
we have a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
One thing that I think we wanted to ask is, do you think the club is headed in the right direction?
Yeah, one of the, at least I would say that it's too early to say, first of all, but even then, I just feel like this is a better era than, already it's a better era than Ronald Koeman's 1.5 years that he was there. It's just, it feels like they are bringing in youngsters who are actually making a difference and who can have a good impact on Barca's future. And yeah, it's even like these new youngsters. Mainly, why I have so much confidence in them is because Luis Enrique gave them those chances in the Nations League and the Euros, right? And the way they performed in the level in that team, they stood out.
Right.
Like Pedri stood out in the Euros, then Gavi stood out in the Nations League. So that was like, that gives me more confidence from that perspective that they can actually perform at the highest level.
Right.
That's yeah, that's why
another
there
reason
are
they're buying Ferran Torres, I think.
yeah, they want Ferran Torres, but they got this last game they've got this other guy Ferran Jutla, some new striker they got from the La Masia academy,
Oh,
and he actually seems to understand how Barca play properly, so they want to give him more chances now as the main striker. So we'll see what happens. But Ferran Torres, again, I think he's a good player, but he's not, again, an out and out striker. Like Suarez type, they need one striker like that who
Yeah.
goes for the kill. Actually, they shouldn't play like City where they have a floating striker. Ideally, even Memphis isn't a full striker. That's also a problem. But yeah, that's something that changed. But
I think
the
Pep's
defense needs
teams are kind of showing the world that you don't really need an out and out number 9. Right? I don't know. Probably that's just Man City being able to do that.
Yeah, that's just Man City being able to do it.
Yeah.
If the Guardiola has a very clear picture of what should happen, it happens. That's the
And
thing.
he has the resources.
He has the resources.
Not just money.
No, but yeah, actually one thing that you mentioned before, is it important to have a style of play? I think it's important to have a specific style of play to create a legacy. Okay, like at a football club, if you need a legacy of how many ever years, it needs to be a very certain style of play. Like Guardiola has done that everywhere he went. Bayern, albeit it was very small, very short, but at City and at Barca, it's very clear what he did. That is something which, and even Klopp for that matter.
But are you talking about legacy for a club or legacy for a manager? They're two different things, right?
A legacy for a club also. I mean, legacy for a club. Like you define an era in that club's history. Now, Liverpool's history, this will be it's a great
probably
era.
Biggest, their best era. Yeah,
that is because
No,
in
Premier League.
I mean, there was.
Yeah. You can't find anything better than
in the Premier League. Yes.
Yeah.
Not in Liverpool club.
Sure, this is one of the best eras they've ever had. Like, so this will be remembered. Whatever it is, this will be remembered. And so even Guardiola, that's what he does. Even in City, he has done that. He is for sure. That's a City team that you can't forget. It's so that's one of the things I just wanted to mention. But yeah, anyway, apart from that, back to our main topic, basically. So what are we talking about?
Are you headed in the light?
Yeah, we are. I think because of the youngsters, I feel optimistic about the future. At least, okay, it may not happen right away, but I think so. But they need to change something in the defense. I still don't know what. They have some decent players, but they need to change something. It's not very clear as to what goes wrong there at the time.
Yeah, I think we have one last question that I think Pratik wanted.
I think this is like this is kind of a so I mean, sure, fans are important for any football club. I think over the next, say, 4 or 5 years, which is probably going to be like this transition phase for Barcelona, I think fans are going to be like very, very important, because it's like you need to manage your expectations. I feel like you've always had certain level of expectations for at what level Barca should perform. I think I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know whether you should reduce your expectations or stick with your original expectations. It's like it's a thing that you can discuss about. And I think that will define how patient you are with a manager, how patient you are with a team or player, because it's going to be very easy to get frustrated with the manager or the players when things are not going well, which you're going to have phases of that in the next 3-4 years at least. So how do you think, maybe you can't speak for the entire fan base, but at least how do you think you're going to manage your expectations for Barcelona over the next 3-4 years?
It's I've gotten used to it, because over the last 3-4 years, it's slowly been declining. Clearly, like, I mean, I had in 2018-19 when they lost to Liverpool. After that, it's just been going downhill only. So it's been slowly declining. The expectations also have slowly started reducing. And the 8-2 against Bayern, that clearly just brought down the expectations a lot for the next season. So it's coming down. So I think Barca fans know that they shouldn't expect too much, including me. But it's just that I want to look forward to good football. If they're playing good football, if they're actually progressing in terms of results also, in both if some progress is being shown, I think I'll be happy. But it's definitely a transformation that I have to watch them in the Europa League for the first time. I've never seen that. I've never.
Dude, you were 6 or 8 years. You're not going to miss out on much.
Yeah, I don't think I'll watch too much of the Europa League, to be very honest. The Europa League, and then again, I'm not seeing them at languishing at 8th and all in the table that much. So all these things are new to me. But I think, for this season especially, I think they'll improve next season. But this season we'll see. It's an interesting journey actually. There's still a lot of the season left. It's like 21 games in the league. So we can see how they'll improve. I feel that they might improve. It will be hard to get into top 4, but they might improve. But others are also not playing very well, except for Real Madrid. Everyone else is kind of stuck. They're not sure how to play. Even Atletico is not playing well at all.
You think
So-
Barca's best way
Ah.
to get into the Champions League next year is actually going top 4 or winning the Europa League?
I think top 4. Top 4, they can get into the top 4 more than winning the Europa
God, I
League.
hate
Next
that
game
question.
only, I don't think they'll get through, honestly. They have to play Napoli.
I hate that question. I've been United have been associated with this question for the last 4-5 years, and it's very irritating. It's very, very irritating.
Speaking of good news, Spurs has been eliminated from Europa Conference League today.
I saw that.
Congratulations.
clap
for them.
Congratulations.
Let's
It's
just
not
clap.
good for us because it means that you'll have more recovery time to play
I'm
Premier
so
League
happy.
games.
I can't tell you how
But,
happy. This is literally the best way of getting out of the competition. If they were to get out later on by actually playing shit football and losing, that would have been worse. So I'd rather take this, get the fuck out of that league, and just concentrate on doing well in Premier
Yeah,
League.
like what does that do actually? I don't know what it does.
What the league does, the conference.
Yeah, like, if you win Conference League, do you get into the Europa League or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a bad price.
People from
I
Europe,
think
however, teams from Champions League go down to Europa League. Teams from Europa League go down to Conference League
Conference
as well.
League.
Yeah. So, like in the knockout stages, there are teams from Europa League and Conference League who play. Luckily, Spurs
Oh.
is not one of them.
Oh, okay. Then in the
it
Champions
just
League,
adds.
no, in the group stage, who comes 4th? Do they go to the Conference League?
No.
No, they get
Fourth
eliminated.
is out.
Yeah.
Third goes to Europa, and third in Europa goes to
Goes
Conference.
to Conference.
Yeah.
That's just to remember, it's completely pointless. You'd rather focus on getting top 4 in the Premier League, which I think is, up for grabs this season. So
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
close, everything.
I feel like that'll be another title race itself. There are 3 teams at least which can fight for it.
dude,
So-
first, see, I'll tell you a lot of factors. One, it's way too early in the season.
It's
And
not way
two,
too early.
Arsenal- It is, dude. It
It's
is way
not
too
way
early in
too
the
early.
season.
We are
Yeah.
literally halfway into the season. It's not way
That
too
is still way too early in the season, dude. You can't predict, like,
You
see,
can
first of all,
predict which will be the 3 or 4 teams which will fight for the 4th place. That is not very hard to predict. You can
Yeah,
definitely
correct,
say that I don't know, Burnley won't come and fight for top 4. Right?
oh,
Exactly. But you can literally
Ah.
see promise in only like 4 teams which would fight for that 4th position.
Yeah.
Can you name one more team than that?
for 4th place.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you have Arsenal, United, Spurs, then West Ham.
Yeah.
You said other 4 teams, right?
You can probably put
like-
in Leicester because they're just hitting
You don't
form or
know,
whatever,
right?
but
Chelsea,
I feel
though.
it's unlikely. Even West Ham, I feel like because they're in Europa League and they're doing well there, I don't expect them to be up there in the Premier League at least. So Arsenal, I
But
feel
yeah,
have a
I
good
think-
chance just because they don't have any other competition to concentrate on, and they can literally, and they have
Yeah.
very low expectations as well. So
No, they're playing pretty
playing
good. I
good
remember,
football,
I was decently surprised with how good Arsenal are playing. But yeah, they're like one loss away from imploding. So I'm always counting on that. It's like they'll have like one bad game and then completely implode. So that's there. But
I think United and Spurs, it's early to judge. Maybe I mean we still need to give them more time, especially United.
United, it's way too early because I have no idea what this guy's doing, and we haven't even been training because of all these Rona cases. So it's
Man, I
like,
hate Jurgen Klopp, bro. Yesterday it pissed me off too much. Some random reasons he was giving. Anyway,
dude, people don't like. I was complaining about this 2 years ago. People are like, "Oh no, blah blah blah." Like it's fine. He's a sore loser. It happens. It's like he wants to win. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
He at least he earns his right to complain. Like
Yeah.
he wins football games. And they've scored some 50 goals, dude. I was checking the table. I'm like, what is that? We've only scored some 20 something goals this season.
They've scored 18. Our goal difference is -1 right now.
and you're taking yourself seriously for top 4 others.
Let's see. I think any pundit or anyone will take Spurs and United more seriously than any other teams right now for top 4, and maybe
Probably.
Arsenal.
I mean, Chelsea. Chelsea are slipping.
Chelsea
they're
is
drawing a
Chelsea-
lot of games
Yeah,
recently.
it's fading away now. I don't know what happened. to them.
Fun. Yeah, that's why I made that controversial statement in my high yesterday, which I'm not going to talk about right now. But fun.
Let's see.
Fun.
Let's
Things
see.
that
I mean,
What
at
were you
least, I
saying?
mean, as far as I care, Harry Kane should have got a red card, but I think we should, we cannot take that topic
I
up. It's
probably
fine.
will agree with that. I don't think what you said is wrong.
Yeah.
Spurs got, so like if I have to condense my feelings about that game in like one sentence, Spurs got lucky with the decisions. Liverpool got lucky with Spurs missing. So it was like, it wasn't Liverpool to blame for their loss, but it was Spurs to say that they got lucky with the draw, which they probably deserved.
Mm.
That's my
Yeah, I'm just praying that I get to watch United because games are keep getting postponed. It's like it's too sad. So I have to wait till Saturday or Sunday to watch a United game.
Saturday,
So
I think.
yeah, and it's like when you get a new manager, you're excited to see what happens, and you don't even get to play football games. So it's like it's
when will your
kind of
training
irritating.
grounds and stuff open? But I think today they announced that the post-Christmas matches will be there, so something to look forward to.
I think it's the training ground is open, but not all players are training. They're like training in like groups so that to handle this whole this whole thing before it. Yeah, that's not good. Like I mean, I've always when a new manager comes in, the last thing you need is a game every 3 days because he barely gets any time to train them. You have like a recovery day, then you have a match preparation day. So it's like you don't get a lot of training sessions, and add like this whole pandemic to it. I think we're gonna struggle over the next month because of this whole adjusting to a system. But hopefully, over 2-3 months, we'll see good progress. But yeah let's see. Thankfully, Champions League is only in Feb, and Atletico aren't playing very well. So long may that continue.
I think United is favorite for that game.
Nah, dude, we suck at playing Spanish opposition in Europa in knockout games. It's like we keep losing to them.
Yeah, you can't say, but I think Atletico is not playing well though. I just watch them play.
It's
like
their off season.
Yeah, we can't say. I mean, Atletico always they can come back in Champions League, especially. They can come back.
And worst to worst, they'll defend 2 legs. It's like
2 legs they can. That's what they know.
But thankfully, there's no away goals. I think that's kind of a good thing.
There's no away goals, right? Yeah, that helps this time.
Yeah. What is Champions League?
Let's see.
There's only one of us who's watching Champions League now. Fun.
No, I watch PSG now because Messi is at least there.
Even I watch PSG because Pochettino is there. That doesn't mean.
So PSG is sad, dude. They don't play properly.
Yeah. Poch is not getting the best. He's a crap manager, so it's fine.
That's true.
It's expected.
I don't know what he's doing in that team.
Yeah. Right. I think we should end this episode before again it becomes a 2-hour video.
I think it almost became a 1-hour video. I think it's probably there. But yeah.
It's close. Yeah. Thanks to PP for coming on. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Hopefully you make recurring appearances on the show in the future. Sure. Maybe in more positive light, at least when Barca's playing a bit better than when they're.
Hopefully next time I come, they'll be playing really well.
Yeah.
We
actually plan to make like things outside of Premier League as well, like probably reviewing some Champions League games and stuff. In that we can obviously have. Since I'm not a part of it, only he's a part of it. So we can have you as well, and we can see where we pick all these things, where we place stuff.
See, if Spurs were in the Conference League, we could have had a segment where we could cover European football, where one person covers Champions League, Europa League, and the Conference League. But unfortunately Spurs couldn't make it. Fortunately. Right then.
I think we had this idea for this draft kind of thing. Do you remember? We should have
the fantasy.
Just a draft, like an NFL draft. You pick players, and we have to 4 people should ideally be there, and then we create our team. That's actually it's a fun thing to do. Like you'll get a pool of players, start picking from them.
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
like this, dude. I like
That's
this.
We
the-
It's
already
giving us
have a
ideas
plan
for the
for one
channel.
of our future episodes then.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
that
that's
This is
sounds
good.
good.
This is good.
Yeah.
Hmm. Cool
Okay.
then. Yeah, I think we should call it a day. And three of us are in 3 different time zones, so at least one of us will be sleeping soon. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're watching this and you haven't done it already. Cool. See you guys again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.